Greetings, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to the first full week when I'm coining Almighty August. And I know I use the term Almighty, but it's going to feel very quiet, extremely quiet with Mars and Mercury retrograde. But you are making a very important choice with your heart that I believe will lead to almighty changes. From my smartphone to yours, keep streaming for your weekly Namaste Today. Welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your host and spiritual life coach, Sensei Christopher Witecki. So grateful to have you back, my friend. Namaste. Welcome to the quagmire of the summer of 2018. We have 6 planets retrograde right now. That is the sluggish, slow, foggy, unfocused, uncertain parallels your life is feeling right now. The good news is we're past all the emotional junk. That's what the last 6 to 8 weeks has been about, clearing and purging emotional junk. And with 6 planets retrograde, the universe is pulling back everything so you can determine what it is your heart wants. The only problem is you don't know what your heart wants, right? And that's what this week is about. This week is really a gift from God Universe to discover what your heart wants. And then early Saturday morning, we have the final solar eclipse of 2018, which is going to give a big booster shot of consciousness in whatever direction you have chosen. So in this week's show, I'm going to talk about this process in the upcoming week of discovering what our heart wants and talking about where the collective consciousness is in Soul Collective. Then in your tea time, I'm going to break it down for all 12 signs on what the solar eclipse means for you. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is from Monday, August 6th to Friday, August 10th, 2018. Looking at your 5-day moodcast. Looking at the week at a glance, it's a slow build-up to the solar eclipse early Saturday morning. Let's drill down. On Monday, it's cloudy, overcast, and super reflective. The moon in Gemini in step 14 makes Mercury ruling the day, and yet Mercury is retrograde. On Tuesday, it's sunny and super hopeful. Step 15 rules the day, restoring balance, and a moon in Gemini points to a positive future. On Wednesday, the sun and Mercury finally come together. It's sunny and holy, with a possibility of a holy shift, and a moon in Cancer pulls you into the depths of your soul. On Thursday, it's sunny and certain. Step 17 rules the day. You're ready to move forward, and a grand trine in water matures the process. And then on Friday, it's sunny and ignited. You are surprised and ready. It's the countdown to the new moon. The moon is in Leo, and step 18 says it's time to proceed. Well, looking at the week ahead, it is really about, with all these retrograde planets, getting to the heart of the matter. In our next segment, I'm going to talk about the collective consciousness and our search for love. Taking a sneak peek at this upcoming week. This week, the Soul Collective is identifying the heart's desire. And let me just tell you, this is a big deal, in my opinion. This is a really big deal. The North Node is in Leo right now, and it will be moving into Cancer as we move into the end of this year. So it's going to be pointing into Leo for just another month or two. And the North Node kind of represents where God Universe is saying, focus on this. This is what to focus on right now. Now, the North Node in Leo is a unique thing. The last time the North Node was in Leo was the year 1998 to the year 2000. That was the last time God Universe said, hey, you should focus on what your heart wants. That was also the last period where we had solar eclipses in Leo that sort of booster shot these energies and dreams into the future. So this year, this summer, this week, actually, is the final investment from the universe to your heart's dreams. The final investment probably till another 18 years from now. Big deal, right? So if you've had excited dreams about what you want to live in this life, if you have fantasies in your heart about what your potential is, if you have ideas of what romance can be, I'm telling you, this is the time. And the universe has gone all out to support you. Why is that? Well, for one, we have 6 planets retrograde right now. I'm just going to list them off. Mercury, Neptune, Mars, Pluto, Saturn, and Chiron. Okay? That means a lot of us is withdrawn. The most important of those two is Mars and Mercury. Mars is our ego. And right now with Mars retrograde until the end of the month, the universe has pulled our ego back. I'll be talking about where that applies to you, by the way, in your tea time. But the reason it's important now is because usually if there's something that interferes with the heart, it's some jackass ego thing, right? Your ego wants to prove this or show that or show him or prove all this ego energy. So the fact that God universe has pulled back the ego at the last choice for the heart for 18 years is a big deal. I would say that's God cheating right there. You know what I mean? Like they say we live in free will, but here the universe just happens to squash the ego right before the final choice of the heart for 18 years? I don't think so. The other, of course, is Mercury retrograde. And people joke about Mercury retrograde, about how, they can't get things done, they can't get focused or whatever, and that's the whole point. The mind is the other co-conspirator of unhappiness. The mind is often taking us this way, taking us that way, everything, every which way but what the heart wants. So having the mind sort of drugged right now in a retrograde is a big deal. So if you haven't noticed, you do now. God universe has pulled all stops for you to get quiet with your heart and determine what your heart truly wants. Now, that's what I think this process of the week is. It is getting really clear on what the heart wants. And I would say you want to start with like the most basic fundaments of what the heart wants. I want joy, I want happiness, I want to go to bed feeling full, with a full tummy, I want to feel fit, I want to, the very basic things that we want, not with any sort of instruction to the universe on how to get it. In fact, for most of the 12 signs, I think that you're only going to be able to like put together qualities that the heart wants, but no necessary big picture, no necessary understanding of how God is going to pull it off or how the universe is going to pull it off. So don't think you have to have a concrete picture of how it's going to look. In fact, that takes away a lot of the fun. This is all about investing in the kind of magical beans, if you will, that will grow our beanstalk and what that heartfelt dream is and getting back to that heartfelt dream and those heartfelt qualities. So this week, the whole week, in my opinion, is designed to identify what your heart desires. Okay? And if you don't identify it, the universe can't bring it to you. I have a lot of clients who tell me they have no idea what their heart wants. They don't know what their heart thinks of this. They don't know what their heart thinks of that. And this is honestly the enlightenment. The enlightenment is that human beings have finally gotten over war and famine and all these diseases and things like that. And we can now focus on why we incarnated in the first place, to have fun, right? Like, and enjoy ourselves and experience heaven on earth in the flesh with tastes and smells and all sorts of fun things. So this whole week, in my opinion, is kind of about checking in. Monday, it's very cerebral. And Monday is kind of about like understanding the level your heart needs to be on, okay? Tuesday is about understanding what your heart really wants and getting to the bottom of what your heart wants. Wednesday, things get clear. Wednesday is a holy moly moment. It is a holy shift moment. It's literally hump day, but it's also a step 16 day, so that means our Holy Spirit is coming in, which is usually what needs to tap us on the shoulder and tell us, look over there, you know what I mean? Like, because our ego and our mind is so busy thinking it's somewhere else. But also, the Sun and Mercury is retrograde, the Sun is direct. The Sun and Mercury come together. And whenever the Sun and Mercury come together in a retrograde, it's a moment of discovery. It's an aha moment. It's a realization. It's because the mind and heart come into understanding. And because it's happening at step 16, which nets to a 7, this tells me that it's going to be heaven sent. So the universe has a heaven-sent sort of message in the middle of the week about what your heart might want. And so this is a good week to pray, by the way, if you need help and assistance and guidance as to what you don't know, to help you see what you don't know. Then by Thursday, it looks like we make our decision. We're like, okay, these are the qualities. So you kind of turn in your soul work on Thursday. And then on Friday, you, in some sort of ritual situation or some sort of literal situation, as much as you can, you endorse and put your intentions of what your heart wants into motion, okay? You got to get started. You got to get the ball rolling. That's part of the rules of manifestation, part of what I teach in Serious Joy. And then early Saturday morning, it happens around 3:30 Mountain Time, around 5:20 Eastern Time, we have a solar eclipse. The sun, the moon, and Mercury at step 14 all come together into one gigantic Halamia. And in that Halamia, the universe is going to add energetic intention. Now, I remember last year, I don't know if you remember, we had a solar eclipse in Leo last year at step 28 Leo. And it was very powerful. I remember having it. I remember feeling tremendous love in my heart. Of course, I was visiting my son at the time, so I was with my family. And I remember having tremendous heartache after I couldn't see my son or I went back home. So I remember the surge of love energy. And what it did was kind of hold space. 28 is next to a 10, so it's basically like holding space for a day that can be a better day. Okay, so in this last year, from that eclipse to this upcoming one, our heart has just held space for a better day. That's all we've done. This whole year, in that holding space for a better day, we dumped a ton of spiritual, emotional baggage, dumped a ton of ego behaviors, dumped a ton of the old cycle, and here we are this week, this year, with a solar eclipse on Saturday morning at step 18. And what this is, step 18, is an action step. It's a step of, I decide, step 8, I commit, step 8, to what my heart wants, step 1, and then it nets to a 9, which means, and I'm going for it. So this is basically the spiritual equivalent of us saying to God, God, this is what I want, and I'm going for it. Like, we're not even going to wait for God to say yes or no, right? Like, we're going to go for it. In fact, the yes or no of God is probably the Holy Shift Wednesday this week, where you get a spiritual sense of whether Spirit is behind this mission or not behind this mission. So this is the year where, after holding space for a better life, we cleared all the crap, and now we're going to actually aim for that better life. It's a big, 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 big deal. And like I said, the North Nodes and solar eclipses will not be in Leo for 18 years, so this is a huge, big deal. Now, through this week, there's a few interesting changes. One is, like I said, on Wednesday, there's a real coming to Jesus moment. There's a real holy shift. There's a real moment of spiritual clarity, and if your heart is dreaming too big or thinking too big, you'll be put in check, humbled on Wednesday as far as what's possible in the next round. Another interesting mark of the week, which we're going to talk about in my next segment, Tea Time, but Mars hits step 0 Aquarius this week, and that's important for two reasons. One, Mars at step 0 means the ego is completely offline. It's one thing to have Mars retrograde, which means you're like walking around not knowing what to do. But Mars 0 degrees is, oh, I can't even get up. Your energy is so deflated. So God Universe is literally cheating here and taking every energetic molecule of ego out of this solar eclipse equation. Amazing. So it's funny. It's like you can get your guns and you can build your tanks and you can do all this stuff, but the universe is just going to cheat you of ego interest at the most crucial moment. That's when I have faith in God Universe, because it's like, all right, here's one for the light. We're winning. So Mars hits 0. The other interesting thing is when Mars hits 0, it also conjuncts Black Lilith, which means we confront our fears also. But Black Lilith is also at step 0, which means all of our fears are entirely offline for the eclipse also. Huge. So for God Universe to snuff out ego aggression and to snuff out dark fear right at the moment when the heart is making a wish on a falling star, I would say that's a huge deal, wouldn't you? I think it's a huge deal. This is why I've been so excited for 2018, because clearly the light is lining up here, and we're about to see the light's response to this last, 26,000 years of darkness. And the other interesting thing in this week is Venus returns home to Libra. Okay, so Venus returning home. When Venus goes into Libra, that means that Venus energy is us on our ability to open up to things. So whenever Venus returns to Libra, we reconsider to the core what we will open up to and not open up to. Now this discussion of opening up or not opening up, okay, is one that's going to have a long discussion when Venus goes retrograde later in the year. So we're going to really be reevaluating what we open up to. But the fact that Venus is moving into Libra at the time of this eclipse means that we are opening up to total, we're not just saying we want this to happen. We're saying we want this to happen and we are opening up to changing what we open up to. That also is historic and very powerful too. And at the end of the week, after this huge solar eclipse on Saturday, the moon moves into Virgo and forms a grand trine in Earth, which pretty much kind of seals the deal, licks the envelope, says make it so, you know, kind of done and dusted from the universe. It puts all that intention into immediate manifestation, which is what the sun in Virgo is going to be. So I have outlined my case here, okay? Like, the only last thing I'll say of the week is the emotional perspective. And emotion plays so much into a new moon because a new moon is our feelings and our heart coming together on something. So the week also has this emotional discussion. And you have to get your emotional self behind what your heart wants. And that means that if you're a part of your emotions, particularly when we go into Cancer, the moon goes into Cancer on Wednesday and Thursday. And not only does it go into Cancer, but it creates a grand trine in water. So Wednesday and Thursday, there's a real emotional, there could be an emotional surprise. You may have feelings come up that say you don't deserve it. You may have feelings come up that say you'll be defeated. You may have all these types of different feelings that come up. And I guess your rite of passage is you have to convince that crying baby inside of you that this time mama or daddy is not going to drop the ball. This time, mama and daddy is going to make this happen because you said so, and so it is. You are the creator of your reality. So some people who have high hopes could get kind of rained out on Wednesday and Thursday if they're not proactive and self-compassionate with their feelings and work through whatever wrinkles your feelings might bring up, because that is a possibility. Now, most of us got rid of most of the wrinkles in the last 6 to 8 weeks, but if you're like me, you're always surprised to find another one. So with that said, why don't we steep ourselves some tea? It's time to talk about the eclipse and our tea time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. This week's tea time topic is the super solar eclipse in Leo. This is going to be a super solar eclipse. I, for one, am excited, even though it's going to directly square my sun, which means for me, it will be a booster shot of energy, but at the same time, I will be forced to sit down and just take it. Like, I'm not going to be able to run with it or anything. It's kind of interesting, but it hits everyone a little differently. But step 18, as I mentioned earlier in the last segment, of Leo is literally... It's literally that step in movies when the hero says, I'm going to go for it. You know, when the adventure is on. When the hero is presented with all these different things, and the question is, are you going to go for it or not? Or in the Matrix, red pill or blue pill. That moment, okay, of where you decide if you're going to go for it. That's what step 18 Leo is. It is a powerful step. And I know my steps. So the universe is kind of presenting us with this heartfelt dream. And I would imagine that by Friday night, Saturday morning, okay, because technically here in the United States and North America, it happens around, it's 3 a.m. Mountain Time, 5 a.m. Eastern Time, that's 1 a.m. Pacific. So it's the middle of the night. We're sleeping in most of North America, which means that what you go to bed with on Friday, the intention you go to bed with is the intention that kind of God slaps you on the back and makes it so. And that's what it is. It's just extra energy to that conscious step number at that moment. So what you go to bed wishing with upon a star on Friday is very, very relevant in my opinion. Tell me I'm right or wrong in, 12 months, okay? But I know my stuff. And what this is a magical moment to go forward, like I said in the last segment, And this might mean that you at that night are deciding you are going to move to California, or you are going to try to be an actress, or you are going to go for a degree at DeVry, or you know what I mean? Like and that's what it is. So I want you to know, it's that you're deciding to sign up for some great American race, some great American challenge of your heart. You don't know how long it's going to take. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take because it's a wish of the heart. And so it's timeless, this wish. And if you're at the heart of the matter, it probably is a timeless wish. Looking at the big picture astrology of everything, this is a moment where many times in the dark ages, when you were a slave on a plantation, when you were being beaten for your religion, when you were being burned at the stake, all these past lives, you were thinking, there's got to be a better way, right? Well, this moment, in my opinion, honestly, is one of the first moments in human history where there is an opportunity for a better way. And I know that the other side of this game, which is negativity, control, manipulation, sorrow, fear, the negative part of this play, they'll have you think that we have no hope. Wrong. I just told you already how God Universe is conspiring with the planets for a magical moment to be in favor of the light. Okay, so I honestly think that it's not going to happen that way this time, but we have no choice but to try, right? So I want you to get to the heart of what your heart is looking for, and that's what I'm going to talk about here for all 12 signs, what your heart is looking for. And there will be a big idea at this moment. So the sun will be at step 18. Mercury will be retrograde at step 14, Leo. Step 14 is the grandmaster step of Mercury, which means that our minds will be made up to some degree. The North Node is also at step 5, also harmonic, which means our mind is not only made up, but we are pointing towards an idea. So this is a solar eclipse that has a strong mental idea component, and because it's being programmed in a retrograde, it's going to stick. That's one of the things about God Universe. You have a major astrological event in a retrograde, it's kind of stuck there because it was built in the other side of your brain that you're not normally, the part of your brain that's not normally the proactive part, and so it ends up constantly influencing the active part of your brain. It ends up planting a seed. So this is God's way of basically brainwashing, our ability to brainwash ourselves. And what does it brainwash? The intentions of the heart. Huge. The other interesting thing about this eclipse is that Mars and Black Lilith will both be at step 0, Aquarius. If you've had a reading with me, you know that step 0 is a wizard step. It is a magical step. It has the potential of all or nothing. It's 0. And when you have a major astrological event with zeros involved, what it is kind of like wild cards. The energy is saying this is a wild card. This 0 energy, wild card, can turn into any card it wants in the future. That's huge, okay? That's very mutable. And what is any card in the future? Our ego and our fears. That is gigantically huge as far as universal intention, because what it's saying to anyone is, hey, you make a wish on this solar eclipse. This will be one magical time where you can actually decide what your fears are and decide where your ego's in the way and not in the way. You can totally decide. Okay? That's gigantic because normally our ego is hell-bent on this and our fears are hell-bent on scaring us into that. And with this at step 0, this gives us the moment to be egoless and fearless at the moment of the wish. So this weekend will feel very jolly because you're going to feel not just this burst of love, but this total squash of darkness. Fear is squashed and ego, aggression, resentment is squashed. It's all squashed, at least for the moment. It'll come back, don't worry, but it's squashed in this moment. So for each of the 12 signs, I want to give you some ideas of what your ego is letting go of with that step 0 Aquarius. What is your ego letting go of? And what fears you're letting go of. What kind of fear you're letting go of at the magic of this heartfelt wish. And as always, I will put up on the side here for all 12 signs what sign I am talking about. I recommend you listen for your sun sign and your rising sign. And for my Serious Joy subscribers, that would mean your A story and your B story. Starting with Aries. Aries are planting and acting on new seeds of love. So Aries are going for, this is a heartfelt wish for love, joy, romance, a personal dream, Willy Wonka golden ticket, like anything the heart imagines, Aries is meant to commit toward. Yes, it could be a love for another person at step 18, because step 9 would be love for self. This is love for something outside of ourselves, love for a reflection of ourselves. So you're making a commitment to run after a reflection of your own self-love, okay? Now what you're walking away from is you're going to let go of certain attachments to neighborhoods, friendships, social circles, or something you were aiming for in the world. You're going to let go of some sort of belonging. Your ego has to let go of something. And you also have to let go of fears of rejection. So Aries will be getting rid of any fears of rejection at this moment of the eclipse. Taurus. Tauruses are acting on a new idea and feeling of home family foundation. So Tauruses are moving forward with a new family kernel, a new kernel of home, family, heartland, homeland security kind of thing. And that can manifest in a house, that can manifest in a relocation, that can manifest in a baby being added to a family. So it can manifest in many ways. Tauruses must let go of old career ambitions. So there's something from your career that you said you're going to do that you're probably not going to do. You're going to let go, or you're done with a cycle of something, or you've completed a cycle of something in your career. And you must let go of fear of failure to do that. So Tauruses must not be afraid of failure. You must be focused on feeling good at home and not worry about failure whatsoever. Okay? Gemini. Geminis are literally acting on a new idea, a new mindset, a new attitude. And the new mindset is a joyous attitude, an attitude that's heading for love, joy, and happiness. Okay? So Geminis are committing to that Friday night, Saturday morning. They must let go of old beliefs. I used to believe I wasn't big enough. I used to believe I wasn't strong enough. I used to believe I wasn't enough. You got to let go of old beliefs that held you back. Let go of old self-limited beliefs. And you have to let go of being afraid of ignorance, which is interesting because Geminis actually are very much afraid of not knowing, not having the right knowledge, not being smart enough. They take all that mental stuff very seriously. So you have to let go of being afraid of being ignorant, being afraid of being dumb, or being afraid of being not smart enough in order to embrace this new heartfelt idea or plan. Cancer. Cancers are acting on a new idea of what they are truly worth. So Cancers are committing to material, manifestation, job, salary, promotion, Taurus stuff. So material goods, which, you know, is not very Cancer-like. They're usually home, family, have everyone feel good. This is a big deal. This is a luxury for Cancer. So Cancers are investing in something that their heart really wants. To pull that off, you must let go of your trust issues. You must let go of your trust issues. You must detach. That means you must end any kind of wars with boundary skirmishes, or he did that and this person crossed this boundary. You have to pull back from all those kind of conflicts. And you have to face fears of betrayal. Cancers are deathly afraid they'll be betrayed or backstabbed. You must let go of all those fears. You can't go after that material gain if you're bringing the old trust issues and the old fears of betrayal. Leos. Leos are acting on a whole new vision of themselves, a recreation. They are getting a makeover. And this is a big deal. This is a once in an 18-year makeover. This is a big deal for the Leos and the Leo rising. So this is a total makeover of who they are and their behavior and how they behave and what they do with their power. But in order to do that, Leos must pull away from a certain way of treating themselves or a certain way of allowing themselves to be treated. So you have to pull away from a relationship pattern with themselves and a relationship pattern with others. They can't be the new self if they're going to stay in the relationship pattern, okay? The other thing Leos must let go of is fear of unfairness. And you may go, what? Yep, Leos are always afraid they're not getting theirs, that they're not getting enough of their support, or it's going to be unfair, or this person got more than they did. And I know it's petty. Everyone has a petty side. They have fears of it not being fair in the end, that someone's going to do better than them. Okay, so they have to let go of that petty fairness stuff, let go of the old self-treatment, embrace the things they love about the new character. Virgos. Virgos are acting on a new idea that will bring greater faith in themselves and in life. And that's a big deal because Virgos are very tangible spirits. So a Virgo makes things happen. A Virgo knows the plan. A Virgo knows what it takes. So if a Virgo has faith, it's a given a Virgo is going to have it, make it so. Okay? So a renewed faith for Virgos. Now to get that renewed faith, you must completely let go of an old lifestyle or old health regimen. So you have to let go of the way you used to treat yourself in your daily life. You have to let go of the way you used to treat your body. You have to let go of any karma with the body, karma with health, karma with workplace. And you must face your fears of being unhealthy. And Virgos are almost hypochondriacs, okay? They have a lot of fear about being unhealthy. That's what drives a lot of their need for perfection. It's not always biological unhealthy. Sometimes they're worried about their mental health. Sometimes they're worried about their sexual health. Sometimes they're worried about their relationship health. It's always health. Okay, so they have to pull away from their fears of unhealthiness, pull away from an old lifestyle, embrace a new faith. Libras. Libras are acting on a new social belonging. So their heart is feeling pulled to a new call in the world, a new neighborhood, a new group of friends, a new status, a new title, a new power sequence. And for them to come into that new social belonging, that heartfelt desire, they must let go of old self-love stories. Old self-love stories is, I'm always the giver and not the receiver. I'm always the one left behind. I'm always the one cheated on. Libras are relationship experts, and so they have a lot of drama and a lot of ego attachments to love stories and what they deserve in love. So they got to let go of all of that. Forget what you deserve in love. That's all been learned in fancy now. And Libras have to actually face their fear of being alone. That's right. Libras have a huge fear of being alone. Obviously, they're the scale. They can't imagine one. They always understand two. It's always a relative thing. Their deepest fear is they'll be left alone. Okay? Which gives you kind of a hint. It's like, well, how fun are you to be with if you're afraid to be left alone, right? But they're going to let go of their fears of being alone, and they're going to champion their heart's desires in the world. Libra, you have yourself. There's nothing to be afraid of. Scorpios. Scorpios are acting on new career future plans. So Scorpios are reinventing what the future looks like, reinventing the sunset. And they have a new idea, a new strategy of what to aim for. For Scorpios to pull that off, they must let go of all of their primary childhood emotional damage. You got to let go of your childhood. You got to let go of your first marriage. You got to let go of any emotional attachment to past that didn't work. You got to cut. Here's the good thing. You're a Scorpio. You're the best at cutting. So there's really no excuse for you not to cut it. You know how to cut it. It's a matter of whether you want to cut it. You also have to face your fears of abandonment. And that's Scorpio's deepest fear, in my opinion, is abandonment. They're afraid of being abandoned, which is why they stick with sometimes losers and sinking ships, because they have this compassion. Well, I don't want to feel abandoned if I was on a sinking ship. Yeah, but you're going down with that person, Scorpio. So Scorpios must, realize they're not abandoned. They have themselves, just like the Libras, and face that core fear, and that's going to allow them to go after the future they want because they won't have the anchor of emotional baggage hanging them down. Sagittarius. Sagittarius are acting on a new belief or philosophy. So Sagittarius are on a new mission. They're on a new mission, a new calling, a new spiritual calling, a new heartfelt calling, a new belief, a new educational calling. Whatever it is, it's a jungle out there, and they're going to navigate it, and they love navigating those jungles. For you to go into this new conscious jungle, Sagittarius, you must let go of old thinking. You must let go of old conflicts in your mind. You must let go of old ideas, old theories, old schools of thought, old conflicts, old legal issues, okay? And you must face your fear of being disconnected. And that's the thing. Sagittarius have a fear of being disconnected, which ironically, they're so caught up in their head being worried about being disconnected, they often disconnect. Okay, but the thing is if you're on your heartfelt mission, you may be disconnected from the world or different avenues of the world, but you're connected to yourself, baby, and that's what the universe is about. Capricorns. Capricorns are acting on a new self-trust. So they are trusting something in their heart. That probably comes down to a dream, like a dream they have, or an idea, or a fantasy, or, so their heart is tied to a dream, and they're trusting that dream. But it is very, very private, very, very quiet. For you to pursue that new trust in yourself and that dream, Capricorn, you must let go of old values. So you used to value if you used to think your resume is what made you valuable, or your car you're driving, or the business, or the net income, or the stocks you own, whatever your definition of value was. Maybe your value was just having a teepee out in the fields. But that old definition of value you have to let go of, and you have to let go of your fear of poverty or failure. So you cannot be afraid of failure anymore. You cannot be afraid of poverty anymore. If you're going to run for what your heart's dreams are, you cannot let yourself be crippled by a fear of poverty or a fear of failure. All right. Aquarius. Aquariuses are heavily affected by this because Leo is their opposite sign. So Leos and Aquariuses are the two signs that are most affected by this eclipse. They must move forward acting on their new heartfelt relationships and alliances. So Aquariuses have made new relationships and new alliances. They've advanced some old alliances. They've created new alliances. They've gotten rid of bad alliances. They are now moving into their alliances, which is going to be what allows them to pull off their Age of Aquarius ideas, these alliances. For them to move in with their heart in these alliances, they must let go of old ego control issues and old ego motives. So their ego would want to control this or be in charge of that or take charge for this or skip out on that. So Aquariuses with Mars retrograde in their sign, they're having the deepest ego transformation out of all 12 signs. That means a ton of Homer does, where they screw up or make mistakes or whatever, because it's just revealing all the work the ego needs on itself. And Aquariuses, to their credit, don't spend a lot of time developing ego. They try to be cool and chill. So this is actually an underdeveloped part of their consciousness, very underdeveloped. So they're being called to let go of old ego, let go of old behavior, and face their fears of failure or fears of mistakes. So they have to face whatever fears they have of being a failure or a mistake in order to let this old ego go and embrace these new love partnerships. And then the Pisces. Pisces are acting on a new quality of life, a new lifestyle. So they're planting the seeds with this eclipse to have a whole new daily life. That's routine, car, family, neighborhood, the whole 9 yards, okay? For them to have this new life, this new recreation of Earth, they have to let go literally of their fears and their karma. You have to just turn your back on it 100%. You cannot take your fears with you in the new life. You cannot take your idiosyncrasy, weird stuff. You cannot take your subconscious sabotage, okay? Like, all of it has to go. Believe it or not, if you decide to let it go, it will go. Believe it or not, particularly now with the way the universe is set. So Pisces must leave all of their old karma behind and move into the next eon. And for Pisces and Pisces risings, that's what's happening. They're going through an eon change, okay? And that's something I can't get into right now, but for Pisces and Pisces risings, you might want a reading. I'll talk about eon change and what Pisces go through. This is an eon change, and the focus of it is the quality of life that you want. Choose the quality of life you want, and you'll be in the new eon. So I actually predict it's going to be a very quiet week. I think people are going to be bored. That's because the universe wants you to get in touch with your heart, right? This is kind of like the time where the cable is out and the power is out and the child is left, what, with coloring books, with imagination? What, I got to entertain myself? That's what this week is. This week is get to the core of your heart and what your heart really wanted and go to sleep Friday night with that intention. And with that, I think we should wrap the show with some gratitude. In closing, I want to do my gratitude segment, In Gratitude of You, the Light Walker. And what I'm talking about is every person on earth who lives in their heart and tries to live in their heart. You are a trendsetter, and I'm grateful for you. I run into you all the time. You'll hold a door open for me in a grocery store. You will let me into traffic. There are a lot of people who are truly living in their heart, and they are truly living by their heart's desire. And I want to say thank you for doing that. I also want to send you a message right now. For those people who have been loving to the earth, This moment, this week, it's not about you giving. It's about you giving to yourself. It's time to invest in your heart this week. It's time to hold the door open for yourself. It's time to make sure you get your spot in the traffic line. It's time for you to go for what your heart truly wants right now. And if you do, and you invest in yourself in this cycle, you will have more gifts and more abundance to give people and continue holding light for the rest of humankind. So I know that you want to hold the light for everyone. I know you want to help everyone in this transition, but this solar eclipse is an every soul for themselves kind of moment. This is the time for you to make sure that you get what your heart wants. We already know you're going to be charitable. We already know you're going to be giving to others. That's a given. This is the time to give to yourself. I also want to invite everyone into my personal Sensei service. I just released my August Megascope monthly reports. If you don't know, I record a monthly report for all 12 signs and a monthly address that goes super deep into the planets, the eclipse, when the moon goes full, the grand trines, everything that's going to happen. You know, you don't have to do it alone. For just $3.99, you can try it today. And most people end up staying for 3 to 6 months because I am super helpful and with you every step of the way. Don't walk alone. Come try SeriousJoy.com. Also, a humble invitation to join our little place on Facebook, NamasteToday.club. This is where you can post articles, share things, get public opinion, and there are many lightwork practitioners who come and visit and advertise, which is fine, to all the people that follow. So if you want to kind of surround yourself in the light, come to NamasteToday.club. All right, my friend, that's all I have for this loving week. I'll be back on the other side of this eclipse. Stay in your heart, make your wishes, and don't back down. I love you. Live, love, be.